Obviously last year the US national development team, they were something to keep your eyes on. You got Jack Hughes, Cole Caulfield, Trevor Zegras, Matthew Boldy, etc, etc, etc. I'm not going to go through all of them, and most of those guys went in the first round. A lot of those guys went in then the later rounds, second, third, fourth. That entire team, I think, almost got drafted, didn't they? I think there was maybe one or two who didn't. I remember most of them did at least, but a lot of the question begs this year, who is a part of that team who's highly touted now? Honestly, it's not quite the same. You don't got that Jack Hughes, Cole Caulfield caliber players. You don't got those Zagrases. But they do still have some promising prospects. They have a couple of players that I'm actually pretty intrigued by. And I'm going to go through a list of them here that I have set out on my piece of cardboard once again. But this time, we're going to be going through the 2020 US National Development Team players that I feel are not per se highly touted, but they can really upset some people at the draft there and really make them turn their heads. Maybe they can go a little bit higher, maybe they can be steals, but I really think a lot of these guys have potential to be pretty good risers. And the first one I have is Thomas Bordeleau. He is, for say, the shooter slash sniper on this team. I wouldn't say he's anywhere near Cole Caulfield as in those aspects there. He's got 15 goals and 16 assists for 31 points. He also leads the team in shots by a fair amount. Last time I checked, I think he's the only guy above 100 shots. He may have had 130 or something. He's a pretty good shooter. He's got a quick release. I don't think he's going to go anywhere near top 15 or anything. I have heard he'll probably slip into the late first round, which is still a really, really good task to accomplish there for Thomas Bordeleau. I think his dad played in the NHL. What was his name? Ooh. Yeah, and after a quick Google search there, it's Sebastian Bordello. It's his son. He wasn't a renowned NHL player, but he was in the NHL, so the talent is from somewhere. Next one we have is another guy who's got roots in the NHL, but right now, and that is Tuch, brother of Alex Tuch on the Vegas Golden Knights. And much like his brother, I really think he shares a similar play style. He's not as big as Alex Tuch. Alex Tuch is 6'4", 220. He's a big guy. Tuch is around 6'2", 205 pounds. He's really big and he's really good at skating, much like his brother. In the US National Development Program there, he's got 11 goals, 10 assists, and 21 points. He's a good net presence and all that kind of stuff. Just a great all-around power forward. I've heard he may also sneak into the first round. Maybe he gets picked up at 18th, just like his brother did, I think in 2014. We'll have to wait and see. He is a pretty good physical player, though. Up next here is a player I have been keeping my eye on for probably 2 years now, and that's Peterson. He is nowhere near someone who is creative as Jack Hughes or Trevor Zegras, but he is the creative piece on this national team. He's a really dynamic stick handler. He's a crazy skater on the breakout. His problem is, much like I'd say Jake Virtanen over the past couple of years, once he gets over that blue line, he kind of just forgets what to do. In a sense, I'm not taking that literally or anything. He's still pretty good and dynamic in the offensive end, but obviously you can see the anxiety and stress starts to set in once he crosses the blue line. He's not as confident anymore, but his breakout is insane, and if he can really buff out his zone play, he can really be a great center. Over to the last forward I have now, and that is Tuch. I hope I pronounced that right. And I would say, much like Bordello, he fits that sniper role. He was injured a bit at the beginning of the season, though, so he doesn't have the same amount of stats as him. But 4 goals and 10 assists for 14 points, which is honestly quite shocking because from what I've heard of Schmelanek, we're just going to call him that. Apparently he's got a really wicked shot, but he needs to improve all the other aspects of his game. I've heard his playmaking is starting to get a little bit better. I mean, I don't know what those 10 assists are. They could be rebounds. But I've heard he really is just the heads down, shoot the puck kind of guy, but the coaches don't have a problem with it because his shot is so good. But he really has to, adapt to a more professional aspect. You got to keep your head up. You got to look where your options are. Keep your options open, as they'd say. But apparently he is a wicked shooting player, and I'd be excited to see where he falls. I've seen him probably the highest rated, I'd say on a median basis there. He's usually in the late first round. I've seen him high as even in the top 15, 12th or something. I forget what website had him at that. I'll probably put a thing there. But apparently he is someone you do not want to keep your eyes off of. Apparently he's a great sniper. Then we move on to the 2 defensemen I have, and the first one we're going to talk about is Tyler Kleven. This is a guy that a lot of people have been talking about for a couple years now. He was even rumored to be a top 10 guy 2 years ago, I've heard, because he is a big Physical, solid defenseman. He has like 45 penalty minutes too. Like, he's a physical guy, especially with that 6'4" frame. He's got a goal, 7 assists for 8 points. And this is where his game kind of falls apart, because 2 years ago, people were expecting this guy's offensive numbers to skyrocket, and if he could have put that up there, I'd still say he'd be in that contention for, you know, a top 15, top 10 pick. But sadly, that has not shined through completely. I've also heard he may be on the brink's end of the first round, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is a guy who's taken in the second round, just because, you know, I don't believe a guy like this should have to rely on his offensive numbers to be drafted very high. I heard his defense in his own end could be buffed out a little bit, but that's something that honestly comes with time and a lot more poise. It'll come to him eventually if he is praised for being a solid defenseman. But the offensive numbers are what's going to keep him out of that first round and probably be being drafted a lot higher. Still probably going to be a great defender to pick up late in the first or in the mid-second. And this is the guy who was their A-rated defenseman, Jake Sanderson. Unlike Clevin, he's actually been putting up pretty productive numbers as a defenseman. 4 goals, 11 assists for 15 points. He's kind of the all-around two-way defenseman. He holds the line all right, and he is the top defenseman on this team, like I said earlier. He is pretty good at skating from what I've heard. Apparently he's got a pretty decent release from the point. I think he's probably a guy who can maybe slip into that top 20. I've heard a little bit, top 25. I'm saying so much late first round because these guys are like all brink. They're all on that like cusp, if you know what I mean. It's tough for these guys to really break through because none of them really have. But I think one of them by the end of the year might go a bit higher than you would expect, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, this was just over a quick glance, guys. I wanted to give you guys an update on who the USHL, like the USNTDP, or whatever the heck that abbreviation is, or that acronym. There's too many letters in that one for me to remember fluently and all that stuff. But those are my top guys I can see slipping into the first, late second, mid-second, early second, or maybe even mid-first, or top 10 if we're really being bold, but that is probably for a different story. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this little update, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See ya.